Congratulations, Pat Mahomes. $500 million contract for the next decade plus, the face of the franchise in Kansas City. And somehow, folks, we got to point out the bad in that contract. In what other world does a guy sign for 10 years, $450 million? Excess of over $500 million in its entirety of that contract. And somehow this individual is significantly underpaid. In professional sports, many things are up for debate, but one thing is no longer up for debate. Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback of all time. Yeah, I said it. No other quarterback in the history of the NFL has had the impact that he's had in his first 2 seasons as a starter in the NFL. His first full season as a starter in the NFL, he threw for 50 touchdowns, something that's only been duplicated by Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, a couple of GOATs. And in year 2 of his career, he went on to win the Super Bowl. And of course, he was hurt a little bit and we forgot about how great Pat Mahomes was. And we had Lamar Jackson running wild with the Baltimore Ravens. But the point remains that he is the only quarterback in NFL history to cue not just 1, not just 2, but 3 double-digit comebacks in the playoffs. 76 touchdown passes in his first 2 seasons as a starter, while missing a couple of games to only 18 interceptions. Over 9,000 passing yards. And if you take a look at his playoff resume, 13 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Now every keyboard warrior out there that has a sports take is going to tell you just how bad this contract is for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that when you pay your quarterback that much money, you're not going to be successful, because we've seen it in the past. Jared Goff has gotten paid, Matthew Stafford has gotten paid, hell, even Kirk Cousins has gotten paid. But there is one common factor in all of them. They ain't Pat though. They're also going to tell you that the history of the NFL, when a quarterback gets paid and accounts for almost a quarter of the salary cap, his team does not get to the Super Bowl. But there's one common factor in all those prior quarterbacks. They ain't Pat though. And of course, the last thing that they're going to do is revisionist history. And they're going to tell you about all the other quarterbacks in NFL history that got 10-year contracts and it just didn't work out. Michael Vick, Drew Bledsoe, Dante Culpepper, and Donovan McNabb. And once again, folks, if you're catching along, the common theme with all of them, they ain't Pat though. But it's very important to catch on to this one key factor that Kansas City has done in these contract negotiations. They have actually set themselves up to be a dynasty over the next handful of seasons. Sure, once the contract does kick in, $45 million per season for Pat Mahomes, acquiring about 22.7% of the salary cap for the Kansas City Chiefs. But Kansas City signed the player for $477 million extension, upwards of $503 million in its entirety if he plays out this contract. Only $30,000 was added to the cap hit of Pat Mahomes with this extension to his 2020 salary cap hit at $5.416 million. Oh, well, he's taking too much money from his team and it's going to handicap them moving forward. Sports is the only profession in which we criticize an individual for getting what he's worth. The QB with the highest salary cap hit for his team that went on to win the Super Bowl was Tom Brady in 2018 with a salary cap hit of 12.4%. Pat Mahomes' average salary is going to be about 22.7% of the cap for the Kansas City Chiefs. This contract is genius both for the Kansas City Chiefs and for Pat Mahomes. Everyone is probably saying to themselves, what's going to happen in a couple of years when the new market is set? Kansas City has factored that into the contract negotiations, and so has Pat Mahomes. If Pat Mahomes plays out the entire 12 years of this contract, what's going to happen 12 years from now? The market is already going to be factored into the numbers that Pat Mahomes is going to be bringing on an annual basis. And here's how I know that. Let's go back to 12 years ago, where the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL were Brett Favre and Peyton Manning, making roughly $12 million a season. Now in 2020, the highest paid quarterbacks are making anywhere from $30 to $35 million. That's a $20 million leap from 12 years ago to now. Let's add $20 million to those numbers 12 years from now. New television deals, bigger sport, more endorsements. What's going to happen to that deal? Pat Mahomes will be making roughly $55 million by the end of that contract. So the Kansas City Chiefs have already factored in the future market for the quarterback position in this new deal for Pat Mahomes. Now you might also say to yourself, well, Lim, a lot of Mahomes' success is because of Andy Reid, a quarterback whisperer. And I would say to you, yes. But once again, the common factor in all those quarterbacks, they ain't Pat though. At its core, folks, this contract that Pat Mahomes has signed with the Kansas City Chiefs is the ultimate example of player empowerment. $63 million at signing, over $140 million guaranteed right off the bat, and the first 3 seasons of this deal is super team friendly. So before we want to jump on Kansas City for being stupid for giving the greatest quarterback of all time a contract that he well deserves, let's remember one thing. The quarterback is the most important position in all of professional team sports. And at many points in their career, a lot of these guys are underpaid. And sure, we don't know what the numbers are going to be in the future. But you know what I do know? $500 million is fucking crazy. Congratulations, Pat. And if we ever cross into each other, you're definitely picking up the tab.